Hello and welcome to Got Clutter. Get organized, the conversation. And you can tell I'm excited because I'm excited about this conversation because this is something, of course, I personally experience. But I know a lot of you out there are. You're downsizing, your parents, your grandparents, and you really want to be, very sensitive to their needs, but also, you need to just kind of get rid of a lot of stuff. So we have an expert, Jeannine Bryant. Thank you so much. And she is from Easy. So I can't wait to get in the conversation because there's a few things I want to know. Well, Janine, can I implement that for myself? But thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, thank you, Janet. I'm so happy to be here.
So before we get into, some of the things maybe we shouldn't do and can do really to support our parents, grandparents, and downsizing, what made you decide to really do this and start like Easy?
Yes. Well, easy right sizing is actually kind of my side hustle because my main gig is in my home city of Lincoln, Nebraska. I am a senior move manager. So that means that it's a service based industry. I have a team of 25 people and we help older adults who are downsizing and moving. And
Mhm.
so we, make a floor plan for them. We help with sorting. We pack the boxes. We unpack the boxes in the new place. We also run estate sales to sell what they didn't keep with them. And so this is our 17th year in that business. And back in 2019, I had this epiphany because I kept getting phone calls from people outside of my immediate region asking, oh, my folks live in Colorado. Can you help them? And I hated saying no, but I had to because my team, we just didn't have a team where we could travel to
Mhm.
other
Mhm.
areas
Mhm.
and help. But I thought, actually, I can help because if you would listen to me, I can really tell you. I always say it's not rocket science, but we do this every week. And for most of our clients who are moving or downsizing, they haven't moved for 20, 30, 40 years, and it's overwhelming to know where to start. And so I thought, why don't I put all of the steps down in book form? And so in 2019, that's what I did. I self-published my first book on downsizing. And that's when I created this brand, easyrightsizing.com, where I could have a separate website that had educational resources that were available to anyone, no matter where they lived, if they wanted to go through this process themselves. And it is a process that everyone at some point is going to probably experience in their family because people get older, they need to downsize, or they pass away and need to empty out a house. And it's a big job.
So, Janine, in your area of expertise and experience, what are some of the don'ts that we should do? Whether it's the conversation or even sometimes just like, really trying to manage the stuff. Because, like you said, sometimes they do have to downsize. They may have to move in, with somebody who's going to take care of them. But then sometimes after they passed away, people have houses of stuff and they don't even know where to start. But what are just some of the don'ts in regards to the conversation? So we
Yeah.
can tippy toe and say,
Yes.
okay.
You're right. That was the perfect phrase, tippy toe, because
Hmm.
that is, I think, the best way to approach this. I think one of the biggest don'ts is don't come in there like a steam engine and barrel through and start telling your parents, right, what to do, because very rarely is that received, right? I mean, it's they are an older adult is still a person and it's their stuff and it's their life and they should get to make the decisions. Really, there are certain situations, especially if there's some cognitive decline or memory issues, where you do certainly have to step in, but as long as possible they should be the ones making the decision for their own lives. And the things that they want to keep are not necessarily going to be the things that you think they should keep, right? And vice versa. Because how many of us have been kind of guilt tripped by our parents or grandparents saying, oh, I wish you would take this. And you think, no, grandma, I don't want your China hutch, sorry, in my house. So letting them make their own decisions. And for my team, when we're helping clients through that, I always just say, we are here as a helpful guide and support, right? And so they get to make the decisions and we do all of the work. And if you're helping a family member through that, that's kind of, I think, one of the stances that you should take. Hey, I will help with the physical work of this, but you get to make the decisions. And it's talk about it early and often, because if you wait until it's really kind of a crisis time and okay, you guys got to move now, then it becomes a lot harder. It's really ripping off a big band-aid. But if you have sprinkle in little conversations every couple months for a couple of years and you go over there on a weekend and offer to help go through the linen closet or the pantry with them. You can kind of chip away at that huge mountain of stuff slowly over time. And I think it probably is a better experience for everyone involved.
And Jeannine, as you were talking, I could see myself on the living room floor going through my mother's things.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized now when you were talking about, yes, steam rolling through, but I was very sensitive to her needs because I
Mm-hmm.
came across an invitation, a wedding invitation. Now, it didn't have the name Taylor on it. So I'm like, okay, it's not a relative.
Okay.
This wedding took place before I was born. So I'm like, okay, does she really? And as I was about to, and I should have asked her, as I was about to put in, she's like, wait a minute, that was the wedding I was in. And then, of course, I started having flashbacks. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's the yellow dress, the picture of her in the yellow dress.
Oh,
That was the yellow gloves that she still has. Okay, so let me put it to the side. So you're right. You have to be sensitive to their needs. And like, I'm like, this invitation, this person, this was invitation was done like 20 years before I was even in existence.
right, right.
But, you have to be sensitive to their needs.
Yeah. Yep.
So, how can we do really like for somebody whose parent, grandparent is ready? You know what? I'm ready to really downsize, but I really want you to talk about the house cooling party because this is the one I wanted to know, Jeannine. Is this something I could do? I mean, I know I'm not in that, the senior, well, depending on the
Mm-hmm.
age, but still, is there something like the rest of us can do? I love that
Yes.
concept.
Yes, this idea of a house cooling party. It's the opposite of a house warming party, right? When you do people still do that anymore? I don't know. It's that concept when you buy a house and you're young and you don't have anything and people come over and give you a housewarming gift. Well, this is the opposite of that. And I always encourage folks, I think the holidays is a great time to do this as well. But as you are sorting through your stuff and you're pulling out things that you do not use, you do not love, you do not want, but there's still use in those things, right? And someone will want them. And so you've got some different alternatives. You can have a garage sale. You can take it to a local Goodwill or a thrift shop, or you can give it to family and friends. Which one of those feels the best? I think giving it to family and friends like feels the best. And if you know you're going to be giving it to a family or friend, it makes it a little bit easier to let go of. And so this can look like a whole bunch of different things. As you're going through the garage, you can make a pile of the things in the garage that you're ready to let go of, and then invite all of the grandsons or the nephews or the sons, or, not to be sexist, the daughters can come too. Maybe they want some of that garage stuff. Have them over for pizza and then draw cards, and whoever has the highest card gets to pick first and second high, and make it kind of a game. And really, especially if you have a family member who is setting up a house for the first time, this is a great, you've got 4 rakes out in that garage. You need one, right? And so why not give the rest of them off to someone who can actually use them? Okay, you do that in the garage. You can do the same thing with your knickknacks. I've had clients who have done that, and then they spread all of the knickknacks that they're ready to let go of out on the dining room table, and then they invite the family over and everyone gets to pick something. You can also, if you have a lot of decluttering to do, you can kind of make a rule in yourself that every time one of your kids comes over, they leave with a box. And it can either be a box of keepsakes that you want them to keep, or it can just be, hey, will you drop this box of books off to the library to donate? Because it's hard for me to carry this box of books out to the garage and then over to the library. So can you do this task for me? Or can you leave with a bag of paperwork and take it to be shredded for me? And so maybe if you really have a lot of downsizing to do, if you think, maybe I'll move in the next 2 years, every time a family member comes over, they have to leave with a box. Right. And for the next couple years at holidays, you are not allowed to get any gifts. Sorry, you're just giving away
Mm.
gifts. Okay. Or maybe you can get a consumable gift. But being intentional about that, it's all about helping so much stuff comes into our houses, and this is at all ages, right? Things come into our house, but so often the outflow doesn't keep up with the inflow. And so then things build up over time. And when you've been in a home for 30 or 40 years, now everything is stuffed. And you need to kind of increase the outflow for a little bit to even things out.
I love that idea because I saw that recently where, somebody had passed and all of like the nieces were just gathered around the dining room table taking their favorite kitchen item. And there was one particular item that she wanted a particular, grandchild to have. And it was just a beautiful, I'm like, see, that's the way you do it, instead of people getting so overwhelmed because somebody passes, they turn the key, they go to the house, and they're like, okay, where do I start? So I loved it. I love that cooling, the house cooling party. And you know what? I may have to implement that. But you are
Yes.
so right. I mean, I don't know if people have housewarming parties, but I do know when my godson got his first apartment, I went around Jeannine and found anything that was a double, anything that I hadn't used. And
Yes.
I took pictures. I was like, okay, what do you want? He's like, I want it all.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
right.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank
it
you.
was a blessing for you and it was a blessing for him, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Win-win. That's wonderful.
That is wonderful. So, Jeannine, you have your business, but you also do this, and then you have books and your family and community. How do you stay organized, whether your space or your time? How do you do it? Because you're
Well,
juggling and you're
before
managing. I should say you're managing things.
yes, before we got on this call, I have to admit, Janet, that I looked around and I was like, okay, what does my desk look like? So it's not perfect.
I understand.
um,
I understand.
phrase that you see sometimes that says the best way to organize your stuff is to get rid of most of it. And that's kind of how I operate. I'm not big on organizing. I'm just big on like only having really what we need. And as soon as someone in my family is done with something, I'm like, okay, can we get rid of it? I'm just really focused on paying attention to when we have things in our home that aren't being used. And then let's get it out into the community because it just feels good. It feels good to pass this item along to someone else in the community who can put it to good use. And then when you have an empty shelf in your closet, it feels so good. So that's really how I stay on top of it. I also have we call it the donation box, and it's a big plastic tote and it's in our master closet. And everyone in the family knows when they have something that they're ready to get rid of, they put it in that box. And then
Ooh.
I know when that box is full, it's time to make a trip to the local charity shop. And,
Mm.
you make, I don't know, 4 of those trips per year, every
Mm-hmm.
year for 30 years while you're in the house, and you stay on top of it. It's
Yeah.
again, it's kind of evening out that outflow versus the inflow. We have one garage sale a year, which makes us hardly any money. But the reason I do it is because it's a good exercise. I tell everyone in the house, okay, go through your stuff. We're going to have a garage sale. And then, of course, after you have the garage sale, absolutely nothing comes back into the house. Whatever doesn't sell, you take
Mm-hmm.
immediately to donation and get it out.
I love that philosophy. And I too, I like when I have things I don't want, I just put a beautiful sign on it, says free, put it
Yes.
outside and say, I know you're going to have a wonderful new home. And that's it.
Bless it and move
Yes, yes,
on.
yes. And just move on. I have truly enjoyed our conversation. So, how can the listeners and those watching connect with you, get your books? Because I know you've got lots of books.
Yes.
Because I follow her on social media. So, I get to see all the wonderful tips and strategies that she shares. So, Jeannine, how can people connect with you?
Yes, head on over to easyrightsizing.com. It's got a lot of free resources, a lot of downloadable worksheets, resources, videos, blog articles. And then also it has links to the books that I've written. And I have an online course, so easyrightsizing.com. And then we're also at Easy Right Sizing on Facebook and Instagram.
And of course, that I will have all of those links on the show page so you can connect directly to Jeannine. Jeannine, thank you so much for your time today. It
Yes.
has been a true pleasure to not only to meet you, but to have a wonderful conversation with you as well.
Thank you, Janet.